You go down this path and you're not that type of person that's a developer. You don't have that tech background. I don't. I use a lot of tech, but I've never built the actual tech myself. I had someone on my podcast that I had a good relationship with. I was able to call that individual and really get the truth out of him, say, hey, if I go down this path, what will it be like? And he told me the harsh truth. And as I interviewed other brands showing me the cost to build Owl, I started to realize they're just giving me what I want to hear. Oh yeah, it'll cost $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 to build it. They didn't really tell you much after that. But the truth is, after that, it's the same exact cost. My name is Jason Hill. I'm the founder of the Owl app.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Like 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing at the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve. I was proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it. Not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story. I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Jason Hill created a way for you to connect, learn, and grow through private, one-on-one audio calls. This episode is sponsored by Kiteworks. Legacy-managed file transfer tools lack proper security, putting sensitive data at risk. With Kiteworks MFT, companies can send automated or ad hoc files in a fully integrated, highly secure manner. The solution is FedRAMP Moderate authorized by the Department of Defense and has been so since 2017. Step into the future of secure managed file transfer with Kiteworks. Visit kiteworks.com to get started. This episode is sponsored by ClearQuery. ClearQuery is the Analytics for Humans platform. With their full suite of features, you can go from data ingestion to automated insights seamlessly. With Ask ClearQuery, you can find valuable insights into your data using plain English. Don't miss the opportunity to simplify your data analytics with ClearQuery. Get started today at clearquery.io/codestory. Jason Hill was born and raised in New York, and post-college went back to New York and joined the financial services industry, though he was always into technology. Eventually, he moved to South Florida because every time he was in New York, he couldn't wait to leave. He enjoys playing poker, pickleball, and spending time with his 2 kids. Jason has been a podcaster for many years, interviewing founders and creators of new startup and tech solutions. When COVID hit, he was struck with how difficult it was to connect with individuals via audio call. He validated an idea he had, and combining his ambition and a little bit of boredom, he got a crew building a solution. This is the creation story of Owl app.
So Owl is a platform that allows professionals to instantly connect through one-on-one audio calls. And the beauty about Owl is you could get into your car right now at this given moment, look down at our home screen of the Owl app and see different categories. Think about categories like sales and marketing, finance, film, podcasting. Before you start driving away, you hit the call button. And let's say, Noah, you were available on the Owl app. Let's say your price was set at $10 for 10 minutes. Instantly, your phone's ringing and you and I are connected. It's a secure in-app phone call. I don't have your cell phone number. And here I am connecting with you and really talking to you like we are doing right now on this podcast, just learning about you as an individual as well as a professional and seeing where the conversation goes. Often people say it's LinkedIn on steroids for that reason, because it cuts out all the fluff of DMing people and then trying to get on someone's schedule to really connect and collaborate and learn. And there's no app of its kind because the beauty of Owl is if you are an expert and you set this little timer mechanism that says you're available, it actually pings all of your followers immediately at your price level. So no, if you're driving in the car too, the other direction, and you have a 2-3 hour drive, imagine just saying, hey, I'll be available. You call me about anything for $1 and just open up to your audience and say, give me a ring. And we all know, business is about building relationships. The more people that call you, the more opportunities will come from these calls. I started this podcast called The Shrimp Tank. It was done in collaboration with the FAU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. We started interviewing the best and brightest entrepreneurs. They had to have $1 million plus of revenue. And before you know it, I got to 100, 200, 300 episodes these days. When COVID hit, it just hit me. I'm like, everybody's at home. Everybody is becoming an entrepreneur, and it's so difficult to connect with individuals right now. We're all sitting on our couch. We can't go anywhere during COVID. And I'm like, this makes no sense. I'm like, I can't just call people anymore. It's awkward because we all get so many DMs on Instagram, Facebook, Slack, all these different socials. And then we have to read through them and just use our intuition on who we should set up a meeting with. And often there's a lot of opportunities missed, right? We're all not perfect at reading these messages, reading someone's profile and deciding. When I was driving one day, I just called someone that was on my podcast who ran a tech company. I said, hey, I have this great idea. I just want to be able to connect with other professionals through one-on-one audio calls. Is that possible? Can we design an app that allows this? And he said, we might be able to. Let me talk to some of my developers. And he calls me back. He says, we could do it. We're going to spend about 4 to 6 weeks building out wireframes. There is a cost to this, and we'll put some of our developers on calls with you every single day. And do you want to proceed? I was bored, to be honest, Noah, and it was COVID, and it was only a chunk of money. Most of these type MVPs that are designed with wireframes cost $5,000 to $25,000 typically, and it was just amazing. What came out on paper is what we see today in the App Store, and I went with it. This was back in 2020 on paper, and then 2021 we started building it, and of course it's been a roller coaster, which we'll get into.
Let's dive into what you would consider the MVP then. It sounds like right around that time frame when that first version, maybe this was 2021 when you started doing the building. Tell me about that MVP. What sort of tools were used to bring it to life and how long it took?
We started actually developing it in January 2021, and then the first MVP launched in beta the end of 2021. We had about 6 developers, and right off the bat, I would say if anyone's considering building an app, be careful. Very expensive, and most of these apps, of course, run out of funding because they start building them and don't realize it's just as expensive to maintain them after you build them because the audience that you're serving is going to recommend different features to be built out, and everything you put on paper, if you're building a company like Owl where it doesn't really exist, you're going to run into just feedback that you did not see coming. You know, what you put on paper, just you can't see how the audience really going to see it. The first 6 months, there wasn't much I was doing other than making recommendations because the developers were coding the entire app. But after it went into beta, that's where I really stepped in. The hardest thing in the world is to get your first 100 downloads, right? You think people will go into a platform like TestFlight, download it, and you find out, that it's not so easy to download TestFlight. It's really for developers, and it's really hard to test a marketplace with limited capital, right? If you're not trying to pay users to come in and test things, you're utilizing your network. It's really difficult. We built it on React Native, so that way you could go on Android and Apple simultaneously. And there's a lot of backend technology, of course, tied to Owl. We have to use this platform called Agora for the one-on-one audio calls. We had to custom design our entire back office, right? Because if we wanted to scale to millions of users, we knew that we had to have a really clean back office, and everything's attached to Stripe behind the scenes as our payment processor. And when we're dealing with money, we have to be very cautious. When somebody has $1 missing out of their account, they will go right to Apple and leave you a negative review, or the Google Play Store. When it was built on paper, we didn't have a refund strategy, right? What happens if the call drops? The person then needs a refund. So we hold money in suspense, and we had to build a whole proprietary system around that. So we just found that the MVP wasn't ready to launch officially, so we didn't launch until June of 2022. Pretty much a year and a half between starting the project, testing the project before an official launch, and we just hit our 2-year anniversary this month.
Dive into the back office decision a little bit for me. There's decisions and trade-offs you got to make when you're building MVP. And it sounds like you had to put a lot of time into thinking about that back office decision. Tell me about what you had to work through in that and how you coped with it.
I really felt I needed to have the back office at my fingertips because our developers are overseas. So if something happens in real time, I want to be able to see the data. So our back office tracks the call lengths, for example, all the revenue to the penny, all the refunds requested. When you download Owl, you can only make calls, and then you request to become an expert, and you pay $10 a month to get a $10 credit. So all the upgrades go in daily, and our team has to go in and approve all these experts and look at their social accounts to make sure they're legitimate professionals. And we have to avoid scams. Once you have money on a real platform, we have been attacked. So security is of the utmost importance. We have real people's account balances sitting on our platform. We just really knew we had to build a robust back office because you're going to scale to, at the beginning, to thousands of users, and then eventually your goal is to get to hundreds of thousands, then millions. You need a back office that just has all these features at your fingertips. People report people, so we have to be able to deactivate people. Of course, if someone requests to delete their account, we have to have that feature in the back office. So I didn't really want to rely on an overseas team to have to email them and say, hey, can we do this or that, and wait for responses. I knew we had to move quick because in the financial service industry, I was always known to be a good communicator and being very responsive. And I think that's what's missing in our world today is just the etiquette of responding quickly. We have these large corporations that don't respond, and people are frustrated with that. And Owl is all about that. It's all about instant connections, instant conversations, and we felt as a brand that it was of the utmost importance to communicate with people quickly when they email feedback at owl.com, for example. And there's a safety concern, right? If somebody goes into Owl and starts talking to someone and telling them to wire them money, we want to be notified and deactivate that account immediately. So the back office just has tons and tons of reports, tons and tons of data, and that will be very important as we scale, of course.
This episode is sponsored by Kiteworks. Legacy managed file transfer tools are dated and lack the security that today's remote workforce demands. Companies that continue relying on outdated technology put their sensitive data at risk. And that's where Kiteworks comes in. Kiteworks MFT is absolutely the most secure MFT on the market today. It has been FedRAMP moderate authorized by the Department of Defense since 2017. Through FedRAMP, Kiteworks' level of security compliance provides a fast route to CMMC compliance, saving customers time, effort, and money. Kiteworks MFT makes it easy for users to send automated or ad hoc files via fully integrated shared folders and email. Administrators can manage policies in a unified console and create custom integrations using their API. Did we mention it's secure? The level of security with Kiteworks solution is rare to find. Step into the future of secure managed file transfer with Kiteworks. Visit kiteworks.com to get started. That's KITEWORKS.com. This episode is sponsored by CashFly. The web is a competitive place, and if your site delivers its content pixelated, slow, or not at all, well, then you lose. But that's where CashFly comes in. CashFly delivers rich media content up to 159% faster than other major CDNs. Through ultra-low latency streaming, lightning-fast gaming, and optimized mobile content, the company offers a variety of benefits. For over 20 years, CashFly has held a track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery. While competitors call themselves fast or use cute animal names, only CashFly holds the record of being the fastest and serves customers like Adobe, the NFL, or Roblox, where content is created by users and must be delivered in real time. For the first time ever, Code Story listeners can get a 5 terabyte CDN for free. Yep, you heard that right, free. Learn more at cashfly.com/codestory. That's CACHEFLY.com/codestory. So then you've got the MVP. You've built it. You're getting some traction. You're growing to some users. I'm curious about how you progress it from that point and continue to progress it and mature it. And to wrap it in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is kind of roadmap, right? How do you build your roadmap, and how do you go about deciding, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with Owl?
When I went down this journey, everyone around me that had touched an app, touched a technology similar, said be very cautious. Apps are very expensive and very hard to get downloads and user growth. And especially a marketplace style app like ours, where you need one party calling another party. And being that I want to go to an instant environment versus scheduled environment, you're also changing somebody's habits. Everybody's used to scheduling a time to jump on a networking call. And I'm saying, no, we don't need a schedule. We're sitting around. Let's just call each other instantly. Let's eliminate the fluffiness, the cancellations, the no-shows. If someone's available, you call them right now, their phone will ring. And they're saying, call me. They're allowing it. It's been the longest journey because marketing it has been so difficult, right? When you launch your app, it doesn't have all the functionality that people are expecting. Everybody is used to TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, and these apps have poured hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into development, and they work so well. And then they download an app and they hit a bump in the road with friction. They close it and go back to Instagram. You could drive some downloads in the early days, but then do they start utilizing the app? Then you run into issues with retention. Right? They come into the platform and then they like it, but then they're gone a month later. The reason why it's been such a bumpy road now is when we first launched in beta, there was no real money, right? So people liked it. Then we launched in the real environment for real money. And then we found out the hard truth that everybody wanted to become an expert and take calls, but nobody actually wanted to pay to talk to the experts, right? With a two-sided marketplace, that's where the issue lies. It was easy getting experts. And our conversion rate was very high because it was free. We're getting like 30-40% of people who wanted to become experts. And everyone saw the value in the app. But the problem is they relied on OWL itself to drive the traffic to get people to call them. And that just doesn't work. And I think with OWL, a lot of people made a mistake and just hoped that everyone would just bump into their profile and spend $50 for a 10-minute call to chat with them because they were an expert. And we made a fundamental mistake. We allowed experts come into the app and charge whatever they'd like. What happened is when they did that, they would limit the information on their bio because they quickly filled it in. They'd write one sentence, and literally they just thought somebody would call them at $50 for a 10-minute conversation. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, why would someone call this individual? They have one line on their bio and one social media handle attached to their profile. These people that charged high amounts would leave the platform because they never experienced it. They never got a call. So we eventually added things in like you have to take 10 calls before you can alter your price. And we started to realize that worked. And eventually we started charging people to have an expert account. Because we also know that when people pay for things, they tend to take more time to learn things and respect them a little bit more. So by charging, it really helped the platform create better retention. It's been a bumpy ride because as you have downloads, it stinks as a founder. You're like, oh, all these people are downloading it, but then you see them not using it, right? So we have over 7,000 people that have downloaded OWL. And the main thing is how many active users, right? So we're always in a war against all other apps out there and other technologies is to keep them into our app and coming back daily. We have to look at the data. The last 100 people is what I continuously check. What did they do? What actions did they take? Did they log in once? Did they log in 10 times? Did they take a call? Did they make a call? And we're really learning from the data. And that's our next goal. We have a big update coming out in the next few months, taking the data and making sure that we're supporting the next 100 users to help with the retention. One thing I say we've done a good job is on the brand ambassador side. We have over 50 brand ambassadors that are currently active. And we've created a robust program to make them really feel part of our brand. So all throughout social media, you'll see posts about OWL, and we just hope that we can continuously attract more brand ambassadors. And our next goal is to join forces with large communities. One of the features that we added recently was to be able to add a group on our home screen. So as we add groups on the home screen, we could partner with brands like South Florida Tech Hub. We have a launch next week with them, and their group will be featured at the top for Tech Tuesdays. And we hope that their entire organization comes in every Tuesday and pretty much starts realizing like this is a great tool to connect one-on-one every Tuesday.
I'm curious about teams. So make anything happen like this, you got to have a team. You got to have the right team. So tell me about how you have built and go about building your team. And what do you look for in those people to indicate that they're the winning horses to join you?
The main thing is when you go down this path and you're not that type of person that's a developer, you don't have that tech background. I don't. I came from the financial service space. I use a lot of tech, but I've never built the actual tech myself. I had someone on my podcast that I had a good relationship with. I was able to call that individual and really get the truth out of him, say, hey, if I go down this path, what will it be like? And he told me the harsh truth. And as I interviewed other brands that were showing me the cost to build OWL, I started to realize they're just giving me what I want to hear. Oh yeah, it'll cost $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 to build it. They didn't really tell you much after that. But the truth is, after that, it's the same exact cost. You have 6 developers while you're building it. The odds are you're going to need that same 6 after to continuously build all the features from all the feedback you get. So for me, the biggest decision was picking the right person to team up with to build it. And once we started building with that team, is try to avoid a lot of noise. Every time you go to a networking event, someone's going to tell you they could build it better. And you got to be extremely careful, because often I see a lot of people start with one, they think somewhere else is cheaper and could do it better, and then their expectations fall short. We see really good developers out there say it should be this way, and then somehow it works better when you A/B test it the other way. And then after that, yeah, I do have staff. I was fortunate that I took the one person that was with my staff from my podcast and my financial service brand, and pretty much they just turned into the head marketing individual at Owl. So they do all our social media. So I was able to just convert that individual. They've been with me over 7 years. And then I hired one other individual to be head of brand ambassadors. And their job is strictly to just go after people on social media with big influence and make partnership deals. And that's it. It's 1.5 people and me running this entire platform. We have to run thin because this has all been self-funded. To this day, I have not raised capital. Being in the financial service space, I have a sense of what investors are looking for when it comes to the data. And I always felt we were not ready. I just knew that they're going to want to see traction. They're going to want to see revenue. So we've just barely been waiting and taking it slow when it comes to investors. I haven't really publicly went out and talked much to investors. I just see whatever has come in. I've let people knock on our door. We do have a pitch deck. I do have a number in mind that we've sent to people. We're not out there going to a lot of pitch competitions trying to get our next check written to stay in business. My goal is to continuously focus on our community, and I believe naturally when the time is right, investors will come through the app itself and see the value and see this technology could also be white labeled, and just the growth that it potentially has scaling, of course. So that's been the journey of having a team. I can't wait to the day where we have 10 staff members and we really could go to more events and really show people the app in person. We have found that in person does an amazing job when people see it, and then they could see a demo call made and then see immediately like this app is amazing.
This episode is sponsored by CashFly. The web is a competitive place, and if your site delivers its content pixelated, slow, or not at all, well, then you lose. But that's where CashFly comes in. CashFly delivers rich media content up to 159% faster than other major CDNs. Through ultra-low latency streaming, lightning-fast gaming, and optimized mobile content, the company offers a variety of benefits. For over 20 years, CashFly has held a track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery. While competitors call themselves fast or use cute animal names, only CashFly holds the record of being the fastest and serves customers like Adobe, the NFL, or Roblox, where content is created by users and must be delivered in real time. For the first time ever, Code Story listeners can get a 5 terabyte CDN for free. Yep, you heard that right, free. Learn more at cashfly.com/codestory. That's CACHEFLY.com/codestory. Hello, welcome to the Data Analytics Club. Do you know the password? No, didn't know there was one. Do you know how to code? No. Do you know how to query data? Like, ask a question? I guess not. I see. Then you can't be in this club. Sorry. Goodbye. Don't be left out of the Analytics Club. ClearQuery is the Analytics for Humans platform. With their full suite of features, you can go from data ingestion to automated insights seamlessly. ClearQuery provides you with the information you need without requiring you to do the heavy lifting. Their Ask ClearQuery feature allows you to ask questions in plain English, helping you find relationships and connections in your data that may have previously gone unnoticed. You can even visualize your data with presentation mode, taking your data storytelling to the next level. Pricing is based on storage, not licenses, and that ensures that you get the most bang for your buck. Don't miss the opportunity to simplify data analytics, your data analytics, with ClearQuery. Get started today at clearquery.io/codestory. I'm curious, so as you step out on the balcony, you look across all that you've built thus far with Owl, what are you most proud of?
the connections people have made from the app. We have some power users that have done over 2,000 calls on the app. And when I look at their stories, it's amazing. We have people that literally didn't know an individual, had a call, and then they've flown to see that individual and they've collaborated with them. We've had people join force do podcasts together. We were at Podfest Expo last year, and Podfest Expo let us run our interactive Owl podcast booth. We do this unique booth in person where people can come by and get a short interview if they download Owl app. So it's just awesome to see just the endless amount of connections that could occur as we scale and what it will do to people's lives. We had one individual, he has 6 adopted children, and he was in Orlando and his autistic son swallowed a bottle cap. He did go to a local doctor and get checked out, but he wanted peace of mind, and he had talking to 2 doctors on the Owl app, and he actually was able to call one of those doctors instantly and give him that peace of mind that was needed. So what we're seeing on Owl is just the amount of knowledge being shared at a rapid pace is just phenomenal. You could just go in there and talk to people about personal matters, and I think that's where people are missing the boat. I had testicular cancer a year and a half ago. When you get told those words, you have to go get surgery next week, and this is important, clear your schedule, you just look at life a little differently. When you look at Owl, the way it's designed, wouldn't it have been nice to me to just search that type of cancer that I had and be able to actually call somebody else and just speak about what they went through to give me the peace of mind going into that surgery? So that's where I see Owl going in the future, not just for business, but for personal use, just to be able to connect with like-minded individuals and just talk.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
I've lost a lot of money building stuff that, we ripped down, right? Very costly mistakes right off the bat, right? I would say building too many features that were not really needed for the size of the app at the time. I'll use an example. Owl had about a 40 to 50% missed call ratio. And when we looked at why is because we used a call system that sent a notification and the notification would ring. And the problem is when we look at Apple, they went the other direction with notifications where you could silence notification, you go on do not disturb mode easier. We try to educate everyone that when you went available to take calls, make sure your ringer was on and your notifications were on. And no matter how hard we try to educate people how to do it, and even sending them an email saying, hey, you missed 50% of your calls. Can you make sure the next time you make yourself available to turn these on? It didn't work. They didn't have enough skin in the game to care. So we had people that missed 20 calls and took 6 calls. That doesn't look very good from a data perspective, and it creates a very bad environment for new users. New users would come in and call 2-3 people and they didn't pick up. And that's the core of the app. Calling someone that says they're available, right? They should pick up 90% of the time. I think I didn't address that issue early enough, and we let it run for a long time. And thankfully we fixed that. We had to overhaul the entire calling mechanism in the app, and now it works through a whole different system where your phone could be on sleep mode and it rings like a regular phone call, and you swipe if you have an Apple device and it picks up. And that was the best thing that we updated, because now our missed calls are really in the low teens, and the missed calls are typically when they pick up another call, so they can't take the Owl call, for example. Or we have an automated feature that puts them active automatically. We call it office hours, and sometimes they forget that they have it on. So I would say definitely building features in the wrong order was one of the biggest mistakes that we had. And then we had to tear it down and rebuild it. Am I sad about it? No, I think it's natural. I think it's impossible practically if you're a first-time founder of a platform to get it right the first time. And people can't believe I say this, but I'm happy a lot of the problems occurred because we weren't ready. That's the truth. If our app scaled about a year and a half ago, let's say, I would have been in trouble. We would have had more scams on the platform. We would have had more negative reviews on the platform, because if people take calls, make calls, and there's disconnects and the quality isn't there, they would have ran right to the App Store and left a negative review, and we would have had a struggle to remove those reviews. The other big mistake we made was pretty much our terms and conditions for a while, and what people tried to get away with. We were giving out bonuses, and then people were trying to take the bonuses and just call each other and then remove them off the platform. And it ran rampant for a little bit, and thank God we shut it down. So just make sure you hire good lawyers to put good terms and conditions in there, and really just word it so it's not so confusing, right? I think too often people try to word it and confuse people, and then people don't really know what it means. So we really overhauled our terms and conditions to make them clearer, and we really made a point that people can't scam the platform for taking bonuses when they refer a friend of $10 and trying to withdraw it. So we just learned so much through trial and error, because last thing you want is a user who hasn't ever put in $1 to your platform gets a bonus, and they're complaining on social media. Timeout. You didn't put your credit card in, didn't make a deposit. You became an expert. You referred a couple people. Those people just called you, and you tried to make a withdrawal, and you really didn't use the platform the correct way, right? You literally did it to game the system, and we fixed all those loopholes.
Let's move forward then. And you already mentioned some of this, but I want to dig into the community aspect and the future of the platform. Tell me what the future looks like. You're a couple of years in now. You have some traction. People are getting a lot of value out of the platform. You mentioned wanting to drive more community. Tell me about that, and then tell me in general, what does the future look like?
We now have it that at my fingertips, I could create a group for a community instantly in my back office. And then I could, on our home screen of the app, put their community or group in any order. So we have over 100 categories when you search, right? And then we have a little search bar that works like Google that you can search anything. Communities are very interesting because I could partner with an organization that might have 100, 200,000 people in their community and say, what if I put your community on our home screen from 9 to 12 every single Wednesday? And everyone in the OWL community will see their profiles at the top, and they'll have a higher likelihood that they'll receive a call. And also you could tell your community, hey, every Wednesday between 9 and 12, go ahead and log into OWL app and call one another. So that's where the future's going. We built that feature because A, it helps blossom our community, it helps blossom their community, and from a marketing perspective, we don't have to continuously try to get one referral at a time. We could go after established communities that have authority and bring in thousands of downloads at one time, right? If someone has a 200-person community and they send one newsletter out, we have the potential of getting thousands of downloads instantly. South Florida Tech Hub is known as one of the lead tech organizations in South Florida. They're a nonprofit, and they have events every single month. Thousands of paid members and the non-paid members that just join their organization at different events. What we are doing is partnering with them, and we create Tech Tuesdays. So every Tuesday between 9 and 12, their community will be at the top of the app. What's even more unique is when they run their happy hours, they're going to require individuals to show the OWL app upon entry to the event or pay $5. So their next event, literally that is occurring. And what their goal is to tell everyone that attends the event, hey, this has been a great networking happy hour, and we want these folks to connect afterwards on the following Tuesday, not just stop at that one event and then have to wait to the next event, to actually connect better through the OWL app.
Let's move on to you, Jason. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
Has to go to my father. He was my ultimate mentor. He passed away in 2023. Just growing up, he had a store in New York City called Captain Hook's, and he would have me go into his store at a young age, like 4 or 5 years old I'm talking, and go behind the counters and communicate with people. I was running the cash register. I think I made a mistake. I wasn't charging people tax at one point. I had no idea what I was doing. Somehow people were giving like an 8 or 9 year old at the time money and paying for items. And it was funny looking back, but he really trained me. He dragged me to flea markets and garage sales. Back then, that's how you got merchandise, right? There was no eBay, there was no Amazon, and he had a famous store in New York City, and the South Street Seaport was famous. That's where everyone took the boats to go out to the Statue of Liberty, for example. And I just learned so much through him. on how to communicate to individuals and start with a relationship versus always soliciting. He would go into places and just talk and actually have a conversation with someone, learn about them. And then by the end, they're giving him free stuff for his store, or they're inviting him to a Mets or Yankee game. And I just was amazed about how much stuff he got for free all the time just by being a good human and asking people about them. So he was my ultimate mentor, not so much on the tech side. He was never a tech individual, but he was always a relationship individual. And it was cool to witness him run a mom and pop store and get to a wealthy area. We lived in Sands Point, New York. Sands Point is on the North Shore, Long Island. It's very well known in New York City, where a lot of wealthy folks on Wall Street or own businesses would live. And I was just always amazed and so proud of him for being able to get there through hustling, a mom and pop store of selling merchandise that was really bought at a garage sale and flea market through his store. And it was like a museum. And then after that, I would say the people from my podcast show. So I've had the opportunity to do one-on-one interviews every single week for the last 6 years. So for 6 years, I've barely missed a week. People think I'm crazy, right? They're like, every week, like, how are you pulling this off? You never miss a show. There's always a guest. And we've been very consistent. We get a cancellation. I look at my cancellation list and I bring someone in. And I look at that as such an opportunity if I get to go there every single week to run a show. And I have a producer that I pay, of course. So I just make sure that the show continuously goes on. And we work with a lot of folks in PR. The nice thing about working with folks in PR is if you have a cancellation, you can reach out to them. They're used to offering their clients last minute opportunities. And a great example is they get their clients on the news, right? So their clients are used to getting a text message, hey, we got you on the local news tomorrow at 3. Do you want to do it? And people clear their schedules. Podcasting has gained me so much knowledge. I've learned from so many individuals what they've been through. And it's a common theme. It's just that they just keep going. They have the intuition just not stop. And they're so passionate and they avoid a lot of the noise around them. And often they're not the smartest individuals. I've literally seen people grow businesses from 1 million to 100 million. These entrepreneurs are like you and I. Right? They make mistakes. And what I've seen is they lean on others for knowledge. And by leaning on them, they're able to continuously move forward. And usually they're good communicators and they're very trustworthy. So I've just seen people blossom their businesses day in and day out through the podcast show. And they have been my ultimate mentors and keep fueling me to keep going.
Last question, Jason. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
If I was sitting on a plane with someone, I would just really be asking them questions like, hey, have you done anything in the tech space before? And it doesn't always have to be tech, of course, what we're speaking about. They might want to build an airplane. They might want to build a car. And I just look at it as like, I would make sure that they're not naive, right? That they have enough money in the bank, because I think money fuels all these ideas in the early days. And I think people see these pitch competitions, they see these incubators, they see Shark Tank, and they think, oh, I'll just build it on paper, and then I'm just going to show people, and they're going to love my idea, and they're going to write me a check for $1 million to build this idea. That's far from the truth. Investors don't invest in ideas. They invest in companies, and typically those companies, they want to see revenue and traction and good data. So I would really educate that individual to take the proper steps. Make sure they have enough money if they're going to bootstrap that business. Because if they are seeking capital really early on, I would just say, hey, keep your 9 to 5. Try to get the capital raised by going to a lot of networking events and finding 1 or 2 investors that are friendly with you and would potentially believe in you. Not so much your brand. No one's going to love your brand as much as you are, of course. I could text every single one of our past guests and literally have them do something because they believed in me and helped me out. And it's still that darn hard. Maybe it's best to do this on the side while you're taking income in from your 9 to 5. Then when you're ready to jump from that 9 to 5, then you could go ahead and do that. But the nice thing is if you're young and in your 20s, you could afford to make mistakes. I think too often everyone says, tomorrow I'll do it once I get a little money in the bank. Tomorrow never comes. I can't tell you how many people told me, oh, you're moving to Florida, you have a financial service business, you're crazy. Why would you do that and hit the reset button? I go, because you only live once, and I'll figure it out when I get down there.
Couldn't agree more. Well, Jason, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for telling the creation story of OwlApp.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
If you're running a retail business, don't let disorganized order fulfillment cause chaos. Use ShipStation instead. From running a business out of your garage to multiple warehouses, ShipStation is ideal for every phase of your growth. Save time with one login for all your stores and by automating tasks. Plus, you'll get the best shipping rates from global carriers. Calm the chaos with the shipping software that delivers. Start a free trial at shipstation.com/audio. That's shipstation.com/audio.